Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, children. Today we begin with another lesson of ours. This is the third one we are doing. 3 men in a boat. After you pass Old Windsor, the river is somewhat uninteresting. George and I towed up past the Victoria Bridge, and as we were passing Datchet, George asked me if I remembered our first trip up the river, and when we landed at Datchet at 10 o'clock at night and wanted to go to bed. Now, children, this is a very interesting story. As you go on reading, you will come to know. Actually, the writer with his friend was going to a place called Datchet, and they are trying to remember their first trip sometimes back. I answered that I did remember it. It will be some time before I forget it. That means, in other words, he's trying to say that it was something memorable, something that cannot be forgotten. So he thinks it will be a long time still left for them to forget that. That was a memorable trip. It was a Saturday in August. We were tired and hungry. We same 3. And when we got to Datchet, we took out the hamper. Hamper is a kind of a bag in which you carry things. The 2 bags and the rugs and coats, and started off to look for lodgings. Lodging means a place to stay overnight. We passed a very pretty little hotel with clematis and creeper over the porch. These are actually creepers, जिसे हम उर्दू में बेलें कहते हैं. बेल होती है ना, जो छज्जों पे चढ़ाते हैं, दरख्तों पे चढ़ाते हैं. So these are creepers over the porch. What is porch? A car park area within the house, in the front of the house. But there was no honeysuckle about it. Now, honeysuckle is also a kind of a creeper, and they're trying to remember that night. And for some reason or other, I had got my mind fixed on honeysuckle, and I said, "Oh, don't let's go in there. Let's go on a bit farther and see if there isn't one with honeysuckle over it." Now, one of the friends, the 3 of them were moving, and they were looking for a lodging, for a place, a hotel or an inn to live for the night. The first thing that came in on their way, the first hotel that they saw, was a beautiful one. But one of us did not like the idea of staying there, because in that hotel, on the walls, there were no creepers of honeysuckle. So we went on till we came to another hotel. That was a very nice hotel too, and it had honeysuckle on it. But Harris did not like the look of a man who was leaning against the front door. Now, this was the second hotel. When they reached there, it had honeysuckle also. So we went on till we came to another hotel. That was a very nice hotel too, and it had honeysuckle on it. But Harris did not like the look of a man who was leaning against the front door. He said he didn't look a nice man at all, and he wore ugly boots. So we went on farther. We went a fair way without coming across any more hotels, and then we met a man and asked him to direct us to a few. He said, "Why, you are coming away from them. You must turn right round and go back and then you will come to the stag. We said, oh, we had been there and didn't like it. No honeysuckle over it. Well then, he said, there's the manor house just opposite. Have you tried that? Harris replied that we did not want to go there, didn't like the looks of a man who was stopping there. Harris did not like the color of his hair, didn't like his boots either. Well, I don't know what you will do, I'm sure, said the man, because they are the only 2 inns in the place. No other inns? Exclaimed Harris. None, replied the man. What on earth are we to do? Cried Harris. Then George spoke up. He said, Harris and I could get a hotel built for us if we liked, and have some people made to put in. For his part, he was going back to the stag. Harris and I sighed and followed George. We took our things into the stag and laid them down in the hall. Now, children, have you understood what the story is like? These 3 men, the writer, George, and Harris, 3 of them had traveled sometimes back on a dark night to Datchet, and they were very sleepy and tired. They wanted to go to sleep, but they could not find a proper place to live. The first one was the stag, where there were no creepers of honeysuckle, so we came out of it. Then next we went to manor house. That means the 3 of them landed up in this second hotel. This was also a very pretty place. But this time it was Harris who objected on staying over there. He said he didn't like the look of the man standing in the doorway. He said that he did not like the color of his hair, neither his boots. Now, this was really interesting and funny at the same time, that they had no choice, yet each one of them gave their opinion of not putting up at a particular place. So, at this point, George gets a bit upset and sarcastically, tauntingly, he told that he and Harris and I could get a hotel built for us. Now, if everything is not according to our choice, the only way out is to make a hotel for ourselves. And we can ask some people to come and stay in it. Now, George says, at least where I am concerned, he was going to go back to the stag, the first one. Harris and I had no choice but to follow him. So we followed. We took our things into the stag and laid them down in the hall. The landlord came up and said, "Good evening, gentlemen." "Oh, good evening," said George. "We want 3 beds, please." "Very sorry, sir," said the landlord, "but I'm afraid we can't manage it." "Oh, well, never mind," said George. "2 will do." Finally, when the 3 men agreed on going back to Stag and staying there, as soon as they had put their bags, they spoke to the landlord, who insisted that there were no beds. So George suggests that we can do with 2 beds. There were 3 of them, they wanted 3 beds. Since there was no availability, they agreed to stay and accommodate themselves in 2 beds. 2 of us can sleep in 1 bed, can't we? He continued, turning to Harris and me. Harris said, "Oh, yes." He thought George and I could sleep in 1 bed very easily. "Very sorry, sir," again repeated the landlord. "But we really haven't got a bed vacant in the whole house. In fact, we are putting 2 and even 3 gentlemen in 1 bed as it is." This staggered us for a bit, confused us, made them upset. We were not so particular about what sort of hotel we would have next time we went to Datchet. Now, children, we have read the whole story. I hope you have got the hint what these men were up to. Give us a space to sleep in the billiards room. "Very sorry, sir. The gentlemen are sleeping. Sorry, 3 gentlemen are sleeping on the billiard table already, and 2 in the coffee room. Can't possibly take you in tonight." We picked up our things and went over to the manor house. It was a pretty little place. I said I thought I should like it better than the other house. And Harris said, "Oh, yes, it would be all right. And we needn't look at the man with red hair. Besides, the poor fellow couldn't help having red hair." Harris spoke quite kindly and sensibly about it. Children, so far the story that we have read is about 3 men who are trying to remember the day they had gone to Datchet, the day they desperately wanted to have a room to stay overnight, but unfortunately wherever they went, the guest houses and the hotel rooms were all occupied, were all full. People were already staying there. But very funny part is, despite the fact that there were no rooms for them, they couldn't find one, but each one of them tried to give their opinion and reason for not staying at a place, whereas they were not getting the place at all in the first place. Like in the first case, one of them decided that they will not stay in a place where there are no honeysuckle creepers. But they moved on and they went to another hotel which was very pretty. But there was a man standing at the front door leaning on it with red hair and his boots. This was an objection raised by another person from this group. So we will discuss further, but let's finish the story first. See how they are picking up flaws in the places, whereas they are not getting a place to sleep for the night. Let's continue the story. The people at the manor house did not wait to hear us talk. The landlady met us on the doorstep with the greetings that we were the 14th party she had turned away within the last hour and a half. The landlady met us on the doorstep with the greeting, wishing us that we were the 14th party she had turned away within the last hour and a half. As for our meek suggestions of stables, the billiards room or coal cellars, she laughed at them. All these corners had been snatched up long ago. Snatched up long ago, they were already hired and people were living there. Did she know of any place Did she know of any place in the whole village where we could get shelter for the night? Well, if we didn't mind roughing it, she did not recommend it. Mind. But there was a little inn half a mile down the Eton road. We waited to hear no more. We picked up the hamper. Hamper? It's a bag kind of a thing in which you can carry belongings. And the bags. And other things and ran. The distance seemed more like a mile than half a mile. But we reached the place at last and rushed panting into the lobby. Panting means going out of breath, taking deep breaths because they had walked so long. The people at the inn were rude. They merely laughed at us. There were only 3 beds in the whole house, and they had 7 single gentlemen and 2 married couples sleeping there already. A kind-hearted bargeman, however, who happened to be in the inn thought we might try the grocer's next door to the Stag, and we went back. The grocer's was full. An old woman we met in the shop then kindly took us along with her for a quarter of a mile to a lady friend of hers who occasionally, sometimes, let rooms to gentlemen. This old woman walked very slowly, and we were 20 minutes getting to her lady friends. She enlivened the journey by describing to us, as we trailed along, the various pains she had in her back. Now, on her way, when she was taking these gentlemen to her friend's house, she tried to narrate and talk about her backache. And these gentlemen quietly listened to her as they followed her, trailed along, followed her. Her lady friend's rooms were let. Let means they had been given already on rent. From there, we were recommended to number 27. Number 27 was full. Then we went back into the high road, and Harris sat down on the hamper and said he would go no further. He said it seemed a quiet spot and he would like to die there. He requested George and me to kiss his mother for him and to tell all his relations that he forgave them and died happy. Now these lines tell us how disgusted and tired they were, especially Harris. He was ready to die rather than to move any further. So he tells his friends that they can go and kiss his mother and tell her that he died in a happy way. At the moment, an angel came by in the disguise of a small boy. In a disguise, he looked like, he was a human creature, but it seemed as if he was an angel, in fact. And he was dressed up like a boy. And I cannot think of any more effective disguise an angel could have assumed. With a can of juice in one hand and in the other something at the end of a string, which he let down onto every flat stone he came across and then pulled up again. Now, probably I think he was playing with a yo-yo. It's a kind of a toy tied with a string. We asked this heavenly messenger as we discovered him afterwards to be, if he knew of any lonely house whose occupants means people living in it, were few and feeble, old ladies or paralyzed gentlemen preferred, who could be easily frightened into giving up their beds for the night to three desperate men. Desperate, tired, frustrated, irritated men, or if not, this could be recommend us. The little boy who came by, and they felt that he came like a lifesaver, like an angel. So they started to ask him if he could find a place where only old and paralyzed people are living, and they could scare them to give away 3 beds for just one night to 3 desperate men. Now, all 3 of them were tired and fed up. Or if not, this could be recommend us. फिर गलती की. If not this, could he recommend us to an empty barn? You know what a barn is? It's a place where the food of the animals are kept, and it's in one of the rooms at the farmyard. Or a disused lime kiln, or anything of that sort. He did not know of any such place, at least not one handy, but he said that if we liked to come with him, his mother had a room to spare and could put us up for the night. We fell upon his neck there in the moonlight and blessed him, and it would have made a very beautiful picture if the boy himself had not been so overpowered by our emotion and sunk to the ground, letting us all down. On top of him, Haris was so overcome with joy that he fainted and had to seize the boy's catch hold, and half empty it before he could recover consciousness. And then he started off at a run and left George and me to bring on the luggage all to himself. And we found him in the morning with 2. We were not so particular about what sort of hotel we would have next time we went to Datchet. Now, children, we have read the whole story. I hope you have got the hint what these men were up to, why they